Senator Moreno is with us now. Let's go ahead and bring him up. One of the reasons that Republicans have a 53 to 47 majority in the Senate is he flipped Ohio's Senate seat. And we're going to get into a bunch of stuff with you, Senator. Congratulations again on the big win back in November. But you have been aggressively following a story that went mega viral, an attack on what appears to be innocent people in the streets of Cincinnati that has been it feels like clarion call for many people all over the country to acknowledge crimes of violence taking place in many of our cities and how they've been allowed to happen. So let's start here. For people who do not know this story, kind of tell us a little bit about it and what has happened to what appear to be a man and a woman who were victims of violent mob beatings in the Cincinnati area, what the response has been and where we are. And thank you for joining us, and congrats again on your election win in November.
Well, thank you very much. Let me just start by saying that Cincinnati is a great American city. Amazing people there, amazing companies. This is a storied city with amazing assets, but with obscenely awful political leaders. So let me tell you this story from the perspective of Holly. Holly's a middle-aged woman. She's a single mom of a special needs child, lives not too far from downtown Cincinnati. She wanted to have a night out. She hadn't had a night out in a long time. You know, for those people who have special needs children, they know what this is like. It's an all-consuming mission of love. So she decided she was going to go celebrate with a friend of hers, his 62nd birthday. She's a little bit younger than that, but not much. They went to downtown Cincinnati. They went to a nice club. There's a jazz fest going on, so they participated in those activities and went out to a place. As they were walking out the door, a gentleman knocked him in the head, and you saw a brawl that ensued. Now, I say brawl, probably a mob of 50 people attacked this gentleman, knocked him unconscious 3 times on the ground, dragged him by the foot into the middle of the street. Holly, of course, like any woman watching that, tried to stop the fight, and a complete thug beat her to the edge of her life, knocked her down on the ground. Her head fell on the ground. She got knocked unconscious. When she woke up, as she told me the story, all she could think about is just how much blood she saw. I mean, just completely drenched with blood all over her. Finally, towards the end, one police officer came over. The mob scattered. The police didn't do much of a report. You know, the Cincinnati police, unfortunately, are completely overwhelmed. They're down anywhere between 100 to 300 officers. She went home in an Uber. Didn't go home in an ambulance. Didn't go to the hospital. No police report. Literally got on her phone, called an Uber, and went home. Of course, when she got home, realized the severity of her injuries, went to the hospital, and has had suffering from breathing problems, from cognitive issues. Again, this is a lady who's this is attempted murder. There's really no other way to say that. She was knocked within an inch of her life. And here's what's most distressing about this. You and I understand trolls online, and people online say all kinds of stupid things, but I'm going to talk to you about the leadership of the community, the political leadership. The congressman for that area, Greg Landsman, didn't make any comments about this. Instead, was tweeting about why we should send more money to Ukraine. Now, however you may feel about Ukraine, when your citizens are viciously attacked like that, I think that takes priority. At least I think it should. The mayor had gone to a mayor's misfit concert, a conference of misfit mayors up in Cleveland, and then went to Canada on vacation. Didn't come back until yesterday. This thing happened last Friday night. The vice mayor didn't make a statement until yesterday, and basically her statement was, leave us alone. We don't need any help. We're good here. The chief of police blamed social media instead of acknowledging that they're down 100 to 300 officers, and said that the whole story wasn't exactly told. I'm not sure what other story you want to know, other than you had a middle-aged woman that got the crap kicked out of her. Then city council member, Victoria Parks. Remember that name, Victoria Parks. She went on social media and said they deserved the beating they got. You heard that right. That this middle-aged woman who did nothing other than try to stop a mob from killing her friend and got the life almost taken away from her, got the beating she deserved. The judge, Mallory, had set the guy who beat her up. He had been in front of that judge a few weeks earlier for all kinds of gun charges, let him off on a $400 bail. This is This is top to bottom system failure in the Cincinnati political leadership. I've told them they have 30 days to put together a plan to protect the civil rights of their citizens, staff the police properly, and come up with a safety plan for their citizens. And if they don't do that in the next 30 days, the only tool I have is to ask the President of the United States to suspend federal funding to that city until they do. Now, of course, the citizens have to do the long-term work, which is to get rid of these morons and replace them top to bottom.
That's an incredible story, and I want to make sure our team clips it because I think you illustrated it all so very well. We're talking to Senator Bernie Moreno, who is discussing what happened in Cincinnati. Holly, you shared her photos. I want everybody to see them. And so I have retweeted it. Let's make sure that the Clay and Buck social feed, they're brutal to look at. But to your point, the fact that a police officer let her get into an Uber and after what happened to her is staggering to me. I am somewhat encouraged. J.D. Vance has spoken out about this. I believe he lives in Cincinnati. Yeah. Vivek Ramaswamy aggressively has spoken out about this. I know he's running for governor. You are speaking out aggressively about this. And it sounds like a lot of citizens, including restaurant groups. I saw the local downtown restaurant group, the Ruby conglomerate. I think they have a great steakhouse. I know they've got one in Nashville. They got them all over the place. But it sounds like citizens are using this viral incident as evidence that they're fed up with what's been allowed to take place in Cincinnati. And I think this is a sort of a smaller story of Cincinnati, but I think every city in America has a story like this, which is why it's caught so much fire.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think this is a moment where we say enough is enough. We're not just going to continue to move out in the suburbs of rural America to have law and order. We're going to take back our great American cities. You see the Mandami movement, I call it, on the other side, which is lawlessness, defunding the police, all kinds of insane communist policies. And I think, honestly, as conservatives, by the way, as just normal Americans, we got to say, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to relinquish our great American cities to these lawless mobs. And we're going to take our cities back. And for me, that means restoring Cincinnati to greatness. Columbus, Cleveland, Toledo, Dayton. These are cities that have been completely mismanaged for decades. You know, my wife is from near Chicago. She used to love going to Chicago. After watching that video, my wife is about Holly's age. If that happened to me and my wife, I can't even imagine what this would feel. What would it, if that was your mom? What would you feel like if that happened to her? And then I'll give you one little more wrinkle to this story that's happening as I speak to you right now. The police department, now they deny that they did. The New York Post says they did. They claim that Holly is a Russian national that fled back to her country. Because, of course, Russia. Holly was born and raised in Ohio, has no ties. She's of Germanic background, as are a lot of people there, nothing to do with Russia. But you see how they're trying to disparage her. And the mob angry machine on the Democrat side, these are evil, horrible people. And I said to the chief of police, I actually told my team to tell her, I have no interest in talking to her until they correct that record. Yeah, because the New York Times ran a story, the headline was, Russian woman attacked. It's not a Russian woman. It's an American citizen that was brutally attacked, an innocent person. I was on with another friend of yours earlier, and he wanted to start a GoFundMe page. I said, please don't do that without Holly's permission. I called Holly just this morning, and she said, I really don't want anybody doing that for me. This is somebody who just wanted – she's just a normal American. She wants to live a good life. And the idea that they even attempt to vilify it. I called Jake Tapper on Sunday. I asked Jake Tapper to cover the story. He said he'd look into it. Silence from CNN. Silence from
MSNBC.
Of course,
by the way, you called Jake Tapper to cover this story? Let me tell you, Senator Moreno.
Covering the story.
That's a waste of your phone call. I've known Tapper for a long time.
But it is interesting to point out because if you flip the races here in any way, it would be the number one story in America. We'd be having a national conversation about white supremacy and how unsafe it is for black people to go anywhere in this country. And the fact that you got a mom of a special needs kid getting knocked out in the streets of Cincinnati, it does say something that CNN and MSNBC.
Yeah, I mean, we all saw the video. The woman getting attacked, she's just trying to stop somebody from being beaten to death in the street, and then punch her in the face is such a vicious and criminal thing to do, felony criminal thing to do. Where's Governor DeWine on this, Senator Moreno? What's up with him?
So the governor has offered, this is the even crazier part of the story. So the governor offered the city of Cincinnati state highway patrols, all kinds of assets, different task forces that he can bear, that bring to bear for Cincinnati. No charge, by the way. Saying, look, the state will provide this. We won't charge you a cent. The vice mayor turned it all down. And then the mayor overrode her, and they took just a piece of it, which is just the troopers doing routine traffic stops. But this was the mayor's like, we don't need any help. We're good. This is
so Governor DeWine wants to help, and they don't want the help. Like they got this. Help.
Great. And what's happened as a result? 2 big conventions have been canceled this week in Cincinnati. 1 company's leaving downtown. We can't let this happen. We can't let our cities just be taken over by these lunatics. And by the way, this is about the destruction of America. Let's just be clear about that. This isn't about just Hawley. This is a pattern of destruction of our country, starting with our big cities, and we have to take those cities back. And that's why I'm on this story. That's why we'll be relentless on this story, because we cannot just turn the other way and say, well, yeah, New York, so is Chicago, and oh, well. No, we're going to take these cities back. Look what President Trump has done here in Washington, D.C. This is becoming a different place because President Trump has said, I'm not putting up with it. This should be a shining city. This is our nation's capital, and it's not going to be disgraced by moronic leaders.
Bernie, you mentioned the disaster, I thought, press conference from Cincinnati's sheriff, or the person who's in charge, in theory, of protecting the people of Cincinnati. What in the world are they even saying when she said, oh, we don't have the full context of the video? Buck and I came on and talked about this. I don't know what context you need to see to know that 20 dudes trying to beat up one other guy is not in any
fair,
way justified. Nice. I mean, this is not self-defense. This is not it, no matter what happened. Have they even tried to contextualize that and say what she was even attempting to explain? Do we have any idea?
Well, what she's trying to do is just brush it all under the carpet, right? She's not explaining why she didn't get called into an ambulance and taken to a hospital immediately, why there weren't cops on the scene. And the answer is because she has to then admit they're down anywhere between 110 to 300 police officers. And how do you let that happen? How are you a leader of a police department, a police chief in a major American city, and you're down 100 or 300 officers? This is insanity. And then to disparage the victim. By the way, there's no context you need for Holly. Holly's a middle-aged woman that almost got murdered by a mob.
Totally.
And right. So there's no context needed. That's it. So look, the chief is a mess. We need a top to bottom flushing out of political leaders there. People just care about one. It's very simple. This isn't a complicated thing. When you get elected, your job is to ensure the safety and prosperity of your citizens. That's it. That's all you have to do. And this is the opposite of that. It's sad because, look, again, Cincinnati is an amazing, great place. We have all kinds of incredible assets there with incredible people, and they just deserve better. And these leaders are just, can you imagine the mayors in Canada? It's in Canada, right? Flip the script.
Yeah.
And was there any context to George Floyd? Was there any conversations about maybe this or maybe that, when in reality there needed to be a lot more conversation there? But instead, that caused their entire country to have our cities burned down. And here it's like, well, it doesn't fit our narrative. Jake Tapper would become a citizen of Cincinnati if the races were flipped. He'd be broadcasting there live for 10 years.
Totally true.
Oh,
is
absolutely.
it a hate crime in your mind, based on what you've seen? Do you think race played in? We got to go quickly, but I'm just curious.
She thinks it did. I wasn't there with her. She feels definitely that it did, that they were 100% targeted. They think it was a setup. That's why they think so many cameras are there. I don't know about that. Kash Patel and Attorney General Pam Bondi and Harmeet Dillon are going to be leading an investigation there, so they're going to answer those questions. All I know is a middle-aged woman from Ohio should be able to go to dinner in Cincinnati and not get beaten to death. Very simple.
Amen.
Senator Moreno, Sanity, thank you so much. Appreciate you calling in. We'll talk to you. And anytime you need someone who's going to talk about important stories and bring some ethics to it, you know to come to Clay and Buck. Don't go over to CNN, man.
Well, by the way, you have 10 times more people that listen to you, so that you're 100%
also
right.
true. Also true. Welcome anytime, Senator. Thank you so much.
You guys.
If your cell phone service is with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, you're overpaying for wireless. You're paying thousands of retail stores' rents for them. You're not going to go into them. You're paying for stadium naming deals. You're paying for massive premiums that you don't need because maybe you think the 5G service is superior. Guess what? It's not. Here's some inside baseball for you from the cell phone industry. Pure Talk uses the same 5G network on the same 5G towers. Only difference, they don't charge you for the extras, so they give you better prices. Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month. That's less than half the price of the other companies during a time when saving a buck really matters. I am a Pure Talk customer, have been for years. I love these guys and gals. Great customer service. And here's the thing, a company that's aligned with your values. From your cell phone, switch to Pure Talk now by dialing pound 250, say Clay and Buck. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. You can literally switch over to Pure Talk in about 10 minutes. Dial pound 250, say Clay and Buck to switch to Pure Talk wireless by Americans for Americans.